my baseball career peaked in high school, but even then I was not very good. I probably could have gone D1 if I could hit or run fast or could throw a baseball more than 100 feet. But god damn it if I couldn't lay down a mean sac bunt. And honestly, I kind of like bunting. It took the pressure off me, and there's something inherently noble about the sacrifice hit that makes you feel like you've filled your role in your team perfectly. I mean, it's right there in the name, you're sacrificing yourself for the good of the team. But, well, is it really for the good of the team? MLB teams seem not to think so, as the rate of sacrifice bunts has dropped almost every year since the 70s. The charts I'm displaying right now are showing the decline over time in bunts from 1969 to 2020. As you can see, in 2019, teams sac bunted with non-pitchers just 342 times. Compare that to 40 years prior, where teams bunted 1,471 times in 1979, more than 4 times as often. This first chart is showing the raw total of bunts, while the second one is showing the rate of bunts per plate appearance, which adjusts for factors like shortened seasons and team expansion. These are pretty definitively showing that sac bunting has almost completely fallen out of favor at the major league level. But why? Why is a strategy that's still preached as a fundamental baseball skill become almost obsolete? Well, the reason can be explained by what might be my favorite baseball tool, the Run Expectancy matrix. Put simply, the Run Expectancy matrix shows the average amount of runs scored for the rest of the inning, based on each possible base runner and out situation. It's right there in the name. All else equal, with this many outs and these many people on base, how many runs are we expected to score? For example, what's the average amount of runs scored when there are 2 outs and runners on second and third? We can go to the matrix, look right about here, and see that 0.565 runs are scored in this situation on average. These figures are derived from the real-life Major League situations in a given season, so that 0.565 number would come from, for example, if there are 1,000 second and third 2-out situations in a season, there are 565 total runs scored in them. It's important to note this because the run expectancy matrix is calculated independent of pitcher or hitter skill, so second and third 2-outs with Max Scherzer pitching and a pitcher hitting has the same run expectancy as second and third 2-outs with Mike Trout hitting. Run expectancy also fluctuates from year to year, so for reference we're using the 2019 run expectancy values. So let's look at the run expectancies where bunts would be most likely to happen under conventional managing strategy. Runners on first and second no outs was once seen as the ideal bunt scenario, so let's take a gander at the matrix and see if it's actually smart to bunt here. With runners on first and second no outs, the run expectancy is 1.52. Assuming a successful sacrifice bunt, that would make runners on second and third with 1 out, which has a run expectancy of 1.39. So by successfully executing the bunt, you've actually hurt your team. Now granted, this doesn't factor in the chance the defense makes an error, which lets the bunter on base and maybe results in a run scoring. It also doesn't account for the fact, though, that bunting is fucking hard. Sure, bunting was easy for me against 80-mile-an-hour straight fastballs in high school, but do you think any random schmuck can just walk up to the plate and bunt a Jacob deGrom's slider? Maybe they can get it down, but unless runners are put in motion, the bunt has to actually be good enough to not get the lead runners thrown out, which is far from a guarantee. The fact that bunting has become less common also means Major League hitters aren't learning how to bunt against Major League level pitching, which just perpetuates the cycle of bad bunters against good pitchers. The pressure put on the defense by a bunt, and thus the chance there might be an error, is pretty much cancelled out by the chance the bunt isn't even successful. Here's another interesting bunt situation. In 2020, the controversial extra innings rule was in effect, where each extra inning started with a runner on second base. Many pundits said it would be smart for your first hitter to bunt the runner over to third, but the almighty matrix is going to be the judge of that. Runner on second no outs has a run expectancy of 1.14, whereas runner on third 1 out has a run expectancy of 0.995. Again, that's a pretty significant decrease in run scoring. Just for good measure, let's look at one more situation. Runner on first, no outs. In the current day, this would pretty much never be a bunt scenario, but 20 or more years ago, bunting here would be semi-common, so what does the matrix say about it? Well, runner on first, no outs, has a run expectancy of 0.93. Runner on second, 1 out, has a run expectancy of 0.7 runs. That's an enormous detriment to your success that inning if you're bunting as opposed to just trying to hit normally. So the matrix has established that on average, sacrifice bunting is almost always wrong. But as we've said, the matrix is also context neutral, so are there still situations where bunting is still correct? Run expectancy takes the average amount of runs scored in each situation, so that includes times where teams just randomly go off for 6 or more runs in an inning. Trading an out for advancing base runners will pretty much always be detrimental towards scoring multiple runs in an inning, But in a scenario where you want to score exactly 1 run, bunting can sometimes be correct still. The issue is it's pretty uncommon to be shooting to score exactly 1 run instead of just scoring as many as possible. Early in a game, unless you're hitting against prime Bob Gibson or something, you should pretty much always be playing to score the max possible runs you can. This means it's pretty much only in the 8th or 9th innings as the home team, or the 9th inning as the away team, where you'd want to play very conservative and only score once, and that's only in a tied game, really. If you're down by 1, which some people would suggest a bunt to tie the score, killing a rally to play for a tie only increases your win probability to 50%, so it's almost always right to play to score multiple runs and take the lead. The most logical application of this would be in last season's extra inning rule, but only as the home team if the away team failed to score. Bunting in extra innings is pretty much the equivalent of instantly kicking a field goal without even trying to score a touchdown in college football overtime rules, and the same principle applies to other situations. Giving up an out, and with it your ability to put up a crooked inning, just to move runners over is so overly conservative that it's incorrect 90% of the time. Another factor in the decline of the bunt is the overall shift in hitting philosophy towards the 3 true outcomes, which are walks, strikeouts, and home runs. Bunting is more appropriate when there's a contact hitter on deck, since the main purpose of getting a runner to second is to have them score on a single, and you move a runner to third to have them score on a sac fly or a grounder up the middle. When you have a runner on third and less than 2 outs, really the only bad outcome is a strikeout, but most hitters nowadays are prone to striking out. In fact, all 3 of the 3 true outcomes make bunting in the previous at-bat pretty much useless. A walk with the base open would have moved the runner over that was bunted without giving up an out, and a quick look at the matrix shows it doesn't impact run expectancy very much. A strikeout doesn't score a runner from third or advance a runner on second, and a home run, while obviously the positive outcome, makes the preceding bunt useless since a runner on first would have scored on a home run anyway. The decision to bunt is based just as much on the bunter as it is on the on-deck hitter hitting after the bunter. For all these reasons, you should really only be bunting if the guy at the plate is pretty bad, and the guy on deck is an effective contact hitter. If the guy at the plate has a good chance at a positive outcome, or the guy on deck is a walks and home runs type hitter, the bunting is pretty likely to end up useless. These are all the factors that have made the sac bunt a niche strategy, relegated to pitchers and light-hitting catchers hitting at the bottom of the order. So to sum it all up for all you managers out there, don't sac bunt if it's early in the game. Don't sac bunt if you're winning. Don't sac bunt if you're losing. Don't sac bunt if the guy at the plate can't bunt. Don't sac bunt if the guy at the plate can hit. Don't sac bunt if the guy on deck can hit. And most importantly, praise be to the almighty run expectancy matrix. Amen. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, drop a sub to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.